Hello, Sudoku friends, and welcome to a special puzzle today. This was set by Julian Locke, and it is a very interesting puzzle. I'm very happy you sent it to me for me to solve, and I did solve it, in fact, but I want to share it with you because it's really nice. It's also not particularly easy, I have to warn you. It's really well made. I have no idea how to set a puzzle myself. I just enjoy solving them, but I do appreciate the hard work being done by Julian. So without further ado, let's have a look at how we can go about solving this puzzle. It's not easy to find the first digit, but here we go. We see the 5 blocking these two squares, and we see this 5 blocking these two squares. So this is a 5, and we have our first digit. We also have this 5 blocking up like so, and this 5 blocking down like so. So this is also a 5. We see the 6 and the 8 blocking here, and we see the 6 and the 8 blocking here. So these two squares must be 6 and 8. And that makes these two squares 2 and 7. Not immediately useful, but we'll have to keep this in mind as we go along. There is a particular observation here, and that is that for the center column, a 5 must go here or here, because these 5s here all work together to block these 4 squares. So a 5 must go here or here. I'm also noticing the 3 and the 7 blocking across, and the 3 and the 7 blocking down like this in a cross pattern. So 3s and 7s must be found in 2 of these 4 squares. Remember the 6 and the 8s that we had here? We have the same constellation up here in this block because we have a 2 and a 4 blocking here, and we have a 2 and a 4 blocking over here. So these two squares must be 2s and 4s. And that, of course, makes these 3 squares 3, 8, and 9. But to further build on the 6 8s that we were talking about, this square is also just a 6 8 candidate, because if you look across this row 5, you can see that we need to find a 1, 2, 4, 6, and an 8, and we have a 1, 2, 4 blocking this square, so this is a 6 or an 8. And by the way, the 1, 8, and a 6 block this square, so it has to be a 2 or a 4, when we have 2 and a 4s also in these two squares. This is actually a quite a neat arrangement. I don't know if it was Julian's intention, but I do notice these little things, and I do appreciate it. So I want to draw your attention to the 7 ones here and the 7 ones here. They force a 7 and a 1 to go in these two squares. And now we have to look at the 3. The 3 is blocking this square. So one of these two squares must be a 3. And that makes this square an 8 or a 9. But since this square can't be a 3 because of the 3 here, and these two squares have to be 7 and 1s, and we have a 3 blocking down here, and we have this 3 blocking over here, that makes this a 3. This is a 2, 7, we know that, and the 9 can't go here either, so one of these two squares must be a 9. And therefore, one of these two squares will have to be a 9. And the other digit for these two squares is going to be a 5. We've got a 5 and a 9 here, and we have got a 5 and a goes to 9 here. We need to find a 5 and a 9 also for the bottom row. And since they can clearly not go here or here, they must go here. And now look at the rest of this bottom row. If these are 5s and 9, what are we missing? We're still missing 2, 4, 6, and an 8. Now look at column 2. We have a 2, 4, 6 blocking this square. Therefore, this must be an 8. And now we have the 2 8s blocking over here. We have the 8 blocking down here. This is therefore an 8. And we know therefore that the 6 will have to go here. These are still not resolved, the 2s and the 7s here. But we are making some progress. Now we've got the 6 blocking over here, and we got the 6 blocking over here, and the 6 blocking down. So this is a 6. Remembering still the 5 and the 9 here, we just need 2 digits for the bottom row, and they have to be a 2 and a 4. But we do remember that these squares were 7 and 1s, right? And that makes this square a 9. And we also remember that one of these squares had to be a 3, right? Now that we have this 9 here and this 9, one of these squares must be a 9. Therefore, one of these squares must be a 9. So these squares in effect are 3 and 9s. And we know that these squares have to be 2s and 4s. That leaves only one square left for the 8, which therefore goes here. The 8 blocks down here and the 8 blocks over here. So this square must be an 8. We got an 8 blocking over here and an 8 blocking over here and an 8 blocking up like so. So this cell must also be an 8. And now we got these two 8s blocking up and this one blocking over. So this is an 8. And I believe the final 8, of course, now must go here. Yes, we have completed all the 8s for this grid. We need a 1, 2, 4, and a 6 to complete this row. There's a 1, 2, and a 4, all blocking this square, which therefore must be a 6. And it is clear that the 1 blocks here, so this must be a 1. Now we just need to find a 9 and a 7 for these two cells, and that makes these two squares a 2 and a 4, unsurprisingly. Equally unsurprisingly, these two squares now are 2s and 4s, and I can't solve them yet. I want to have another look at these 3 empty squares. They need to be a 1, 4, and a 2. So the 4 blocks here, therefore one of these two squares must be a 4, and we can figure out which one is going to be. Because this 4 blocks up here, this 4 blocks over here, so one of these squares must be a 4. And that prevents a 4 from ever going into this square. Now this is a 4. And these have to be a 1 and a 2. We have a 1 in the column, so this is a 2 and this is a 1. And now we have solved the two 7 pairs that we have had here since the beginning of this puzzle, because the 2 now blocks here and makes this a 7 and this a 2. And that solves the 1, 7 pair here, because now the 7 blocks over. This is now a 1 and this is a 7. The 7s block up here, making this a 7. Now we need to find 2 digits for these squares, and they have to be a 1 and a 3. We have a 1 in the row, so this is a 3, and this is the 1. 1 blocking over, another 1 blocking over. This square must be a 1. Blocking up, blocking up, blocking over. This is another 1, and this is, I believe, the final one. Yes, now we have all the 1s and all the 8s of this grid secured. These two squares must be a 5 and a 9. Remember the 5, 9 here as well? I like the symmetry of this puzzle. It's really, really neat. So a 5 and a 9 here, making these a 6 and a 2. There's a 6 in the row, so this must be a 2 and this must be a 6, making this a 6. The 6 blocks down, this blocks up, this blocks over, so this is a 6. Let's look at these 3 squares. They have to be a 4, 9, and a 3. I don't seem to be able to solve them. This is a 9 or 3. This is a 9 or a 3. This is a 9 or a 3. So this is definitely not a 9 or 3, but last digit that we need for this box here is going to be a 4. So I'm betting that this is a 4, but I'm not inputting it yet because I want to find this using just logic and not my knowledge of unique rectangles. And I'm sure it's going to be possible. By the way, I did solve this puzzle, I think it was yesterday, but I've forgotten all about the path. So what you're seeing me doing here today is just solving it anew without any knowledge actually of how I solved it yesterday. But there's a 2 blocking over and there's a 2 blocking down. So this is a 2. And that gives me a 2 for one of these two squares. These two now must be a 5 and a 4. We got a 5 blocking there, this square, so this is a 4, and this therefore must be a 5, making this a 5 and this a 9. And this is a 9 now. The last digit here is going to be a what? A 7. And that gives us this 7 and this 7. From here on out, it is not going to be very difficult. These two squares must be a 4 and a 3. We got a 4 in the column. So the 3 goes here and the 4 here. And the 3 blocks down. This 3 blocks over, making this a 3. 5 and 9 go here, and therefore this must be a 2. 5 and 9 here, 5 and 9 here, 5 and 9 here, and 5 and 9 here. But there is a 5 in this row. So the 9 goes here, here, 5 here, 5 here. These were 3s and 9s, remember? Now the 9 blocks over, so this is a 3 and this is a 9, making this a 9. And as I predicted, this square must be a 4 because the 4 is blocking over here. So this is a 4 and this is a 3. We need a 4 for this square and a 2 for this, and a 2 for this, and a 4 for this square. I think that you will agree with me that this is a very neat puzzle with a very unique solving path. So my thanks go out to Julian Locke for this puzzle, and I hope to see more from his setting hand in future. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye for now.